Hi, my name's Barrie Crampton. Welcome to another episode of Not the Evangelist News. Quite a funny story. There's a saying, retaliate first. And of course it's a kind of a play on words. Basically, strike first. And today, the SMMT figures for the car sales for December and also the whole of last year were published. However, on Friday, all the EV shills came out of the woodwork to get their story in first, basically retaliating first, plant it in people's minds. What they planted on people's minds on Friday is that EVs took 19.6% market share for the year and a massive 31% in December. Petrols were down 4.4%, diesel's down 13.6%. Andy Palmer here. A pleasure to talk with At Times Radio this morning about UK. Now, this was all planned, so the SMMT figures came out today, but the EV shills, they got the figures somehow on Friday, and were able to hit the headlines with them. And you'll, as I say, you'll see here, a pleasure to talk with Times Radio. Now, I felt the need to reply to Andy yet again, because what it also said in the article, which he neglected to mention, was some industry figures have suggested the natural level of demand is around 11 to 12%. So that's at least 10% behind what it needs to be. So that is why the market was having to be pushed. It's clear that demand has not matched the assumptions behind the mandate when it was conceived, Hawes said. Hawes is the guy, Mike Hawes is the guy from the SMMT. So Andy's neglected to include that in his tweet because it's biased, because he's a green spokesperson. Having been in charge of Aston Martin, now he's a green spokesperson. Industry has pulled every lever to try and achieve this target, with manufacturing discounting totalling more than 4.5 billion in 2024, an amount that is not sustainable in the long term. The 2.6% growth in 2024's new car market was driven purely by the fleet sector, including leasing operations, rental firms and OEMs' own fleets. So that's EVs that they haven't sold, can't sell, won't sell and are hiding until they can reintroduce them to the market. When the market is probably, like when you're going to sell gold, you don't sell it at the bottom, do you? You wait until it comes up, then you sell it. Shares, you wait till they get to the top, then you sell it. EVs, you wait till they get to the top. You may have a long wait, but God loves a tryer. So the 2.6% growth in 2024's new car market was driven purely by the fleet sector, including leasing operations, rental firms and OEMs' own fleets, which accounted for 60% of all registration. BEV and PHEV cars carry a price premium, and SMMT data shows that private motorists are picking petrol primarily and hybrid secondly. Buyers' low interest in BEVs is hampering the market growth. Well, that's not true. That's just a lie. I mean, they just can't help themselves. It's well known, and they've been crowing about it for months, that EVs have now reached price parity with petrols and diesels, with ICE cars. In a lot of cases, they cost less. So that's a total lie. They can't have it both ways. They can't say that EVs have reached price parity and then say that they carry a price premium. They don't. They don't. They don't. How many times do you want me to tell you? They don't. Andy chose to reply to me. As a reminder, the car industry agreed the ZEV mandate requirements and remains committed to EV transition, albeit potentially at a slower rate for some. Right, well, that was Andy's. He's never replied to me before. You know, when I've asked him questions, help to establish how long it takes for an EV to become carbon neutral with an ICE car. But anyway, he's replied to me here. As a reminder, the car industry agreed the ZEV mandate requirements and remains committed to EV transition, albeit potentially at a slower rate for some. Now, who agreed? What choices were they given? I've worked at places, they give you targets. Somebody else sets the targets. Somebody usually who doesn't know what they're doing. And I wrote a blog about one particular case, one particular year at Mercedes-Benz when my target was set and I didn't agree with it. I knew I couldn't hit it. I knew because the registrations had changed that the way they'd worked the business plan out, there was no way I could achieve my target, and it was going to cost me something like 20 grand, and that was in 1999. So how much that is now, I don't know. My budget plan at the end of the year turned out to be spot on. Theirs was just what I said it would be, crap. Now, I refused to sign it, and do you know what happened? I was told if I didn't sign it by the end of the month, I would be fired. People who set targets usually don't know what they're doing. They set them too high. The manufacturer gives you a target. Then the garage works out a target for each individual salesman. Say they work out 100%, they work out a target for each individual salesman. Let's say 120%. And they know they won't do it, but then they won't get the bonuses either. They'll try like hell to do it, and they'll hit the garage's 100% target, but they won't hit their 120% target to get the bonuses, the quarterly bonus, the monthly bonus, the yearly bonus. And then, of course, your finance targets, because you've not done the amount, you've not hit your finance target either. So the motor trade is probably the worst industry. It's probably the most fun to work in, but the actual worst industry for getting shafted. Andy got sacked from Aston Martin. Probably something to do with targets. Probably something to do with targets that, if he was honest about, he knew very well he wouldn't hit. I'm only surmising. It might be that Andy's face didn't fit. That happens a lot. Believe it or not, happens to me a lot. If they want to get rid of you, you know what they do? They put your target up so you can't get it. And then they give you a warning letter. And there's all sorts of, you've got to have 2 verbal warnings or something, or a written warning. And they put your target up, give you a couple of verbal, and then you're up the road. You know, the car industry is very mercenary. But anybody who thought that this year, anybody in the right mind who thought that this year they could achieve 22% selling EVs, actually selling them, is a lunatic. He's a lunatic. But it gets worse. A pleasure to talk with Times Radio this morning about UK new car sales for 2024. Up 2.6%. EVs took 19.6% market share in the year and a massive 31% in December. Petrol's minus 4.4%, diesel minus 13.6%, down with growth in HEV and FEV. Top selling car, Ford Puma. Top EV, Tesla Y, and SUVs become the biggest segment, overtaking the Super Mini. SUVs, big cars, not economical, have overtaken Minis. So weren't we going for economy? Is that not the whole point with EVs, to save the planet? EV mandate at 22% will be met by the industry in 2024 through flexibility built into the legislation. Gross incentives on EV probably at a similar level to ICE, but more work required on deployment of chargers. Long story short, the ZEV mandate is working. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Rubbish. How is it working when actual demand is 11 to 12% according to experts? Everything electric. Electric vehicles .expert. This guy has chosen .expert. EV UK expert. 31% of new car sales electric, but used BEV bargains are the biggest news. And 2025 will prove to be the year when electric is no longer for the elite. The growth of battery EV cells in the UK is impressive when you consider the economic conditions and until now the lack of affordable options. Truly affordable, used and new options are now available, and this is only set to get more and more conspicuous in the upcoming months. Rubbish. December new car sales saw 31% share for BEVs and around 1 in 5 cars bought over the course of 2000. Bought. Now I have to stop you there. They weren't bought. The ones that people did buy were given away and all the rest are parked up somewhere. As demand starts to ramp, it's not ramped. The propaganda's ramped, the sales haven't, meaning that 4% of cars on the UK's roads are battery electric. Accordingly, now that there's 1.3 million BEVs in the UK, the used market is hinting at what's to come, with a 5% of cars listed on Auto Trader being battery electric, and some of the bargains you can find at £5,000, £10,000 and £15,000 levels are attractive, not least because they can save £1,000 per fuel cost per annum. And the other running costs for these cars are ordinarily much lower than for conventional cars. And yes, you can also access salary sacrifice. Well, unfortunately, they drop a heck of a lot more. So if you calculate the whole life costs, they're not cheaper to run. You don't save £1,000. As the Climate Intelligence Unit brought their report out that you could save £2,600 if you have an Audi e-tron. You can't. Dealers can't. Dealers can't even make £2,600 profit, let alone a private save. And of course, we're now entering the virtuous circle in which more and more affordable new EVs like Citroen C3 with an on the road of 21,990 feeds into the used car market, and the used market represents 80% of the car sales market. Their elite advert is well worth a watch. I mean, it's just rubbish. It's just rubbish. Everything electric expert. And the Everything Electric show is retweeting all this garbage. Speaks for itself. Record number of electric cars were sold. They weren't sold. Andy Palmer retweeted again. Now we go to Colin Walker. And this tells you about these people. Strong finish to the year for EV sales. 31% in December. Exclamation marks. And 19.6% for the year. Currently on leave, but have been struck by the effort that has been made to spin these results as bad news. They are bad. It's no spin, it's bad news. We'll share examples and thoughts on my return. Colin thought it was so important. He's on leave and he's retweeted that. Jan Rose now, again, I don't know who this is, but Colin's reposted. Again, Happy New Year. Let's start it with some good news from the UK. 1 in 5 cars sold again in 2024 was battery electric. 6 years earlier, it was just 0.7%. Just as an example, all these cars, December, there was 31% sold were EVs. Okay. Right, Sherlock. Let's just go to today's Auto Trader. We'll go to electric cars. Electric cars, 26,564 cars. We'll go there. We'll put in year. Now, you'll laugh at this, but if I just put in 2025 now, there are now 14 cars for sale registered in 2025, where the 6 Porsche Macan, 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 oh sorry, Taycan, Porsche Taycan, Porsche Macan, Porsche Macan, Porsche Taycan, Alfa Romeo Junior, Porsche Macan, Volvo EX40, Porsche Taycan, Porsche Taycan. We're 6 days in. These have been advertised. When were they advertised? The 3rd of the 1st. So they're advertised, these 2025s. Now I'm going to knock out the 2025 to 2025, and I'm going to put in most recent. We'll just look down here, of course, with Auto Trader. You put in what you want, and then the first, what is that, 1 or 2 cars are an ad. You may also like, why would I like, I'm looking for a used car, why would I like a new Cupra Born? Put in mileage, up to 500 miles. So as usual, I put in all the things I want. You see at the top there, up to 500 miles, up to 2025, electric. And the first couple of vehicles this show is a Polestar, which is an advert, and then an Auto Trader leasing advert for a Cupra Born, a brand new one. Now we look here. First one is a Jeep Avenger, 2024 and a 24, it's 100 miles on the clock. Click on the Jeep Avenger. There we go. That's just been advertised today. Let's save £6,000. Let's just see when it was registered. It was registered in 31st of May 2024, and it's not sold yet. And they're still registering new ones. Vauxhall Mocha, 2024 74s. When was that registered? 30th of the 9th, 2024. But let's just go a bit further down. Oh, we've got a Lookers one here. Ford Mustang Mach-E. We'll go on there because they're usually interesting. Lookers Ford Premium Pre-Registration. '30th of the 9th, 2024. What about all these cars that were sold in December? Let's just have a look. Oh, there's a 2025 Taycan. (2023) 73 MG4 with 5 miles on it. It's an X demo. They've done the job, haven't they? X. Oh look, 20th of the 12th, 2023, and for some reason it's just been released today. Wonder why that would be. 12 months old, 5 miles on. X demo. Jaguar I-Pace. Now there's a lot of Jaguar I-Pace, isn't there? So here we go. Let's just have a look at Jaguar I-Pace. This one here was advertised on the 4th of the 1st, 2025. 4th of the 1st, 2025. With vehicle registered 18th of the 12th, 2024. So that's one of the 31% EVs. Let's check this one. Is this one the same garage? Oh, that one's Harwood's Jaguar Basingstoke. This one's Harwood's Jaguar Basingstoke 2. (18th to the 12th, 2024. Next one. (18th to the 12th, 2024. Next one. Next one, 18th to the 12th, 2024. Next one, 18th to the 12th, 2024. Are you getting the picture? The difference between sales and garages registering stuff. Lots of garages this year. In fact, one's just come out today. Cinch cuts losses, but revenue falters thanks to rapidly falling used car prices. Revenue slipped from over 1 billion, well, it's not bad, is it, to 932.5 million. But they lost 118.2 million. They lost out of a revenue of 932.5 million. They lost 118.2 million. Firm blames rapidly falling used car prices for revenue drop. During 2024, Cinch sold Elmo for 18 million and opened dealerships. Elmo was their, was it electric car hire? Also showed that during 2024, Cinch made 18 million on the sale of electric car subscription service, Elmo. So they blame used car prices. What caused the used car prices to drop? New EVs. Barrie, you're such a liar. So, bear with me. They can't sell new EVs, so they discounted them by 4.5 billion. That means if they discount new ones by 4.5 billion, equal and opposite reaction. Used ones have to go down 4.5 billion, don't they? Stands to reason. Used ones have to be cheaper than the new ones. They have to be cheaper than new ones by a certain margin, you know, to get over the mental barrier. It's worth buying used without the warranty and so on, with a bit of wear on the car, so they've got to be cheaper. So your 4.5 billion on new ones immediately translates to 4.5 billion on used EVs. Then you've got used EVs and used ICE cars. If used EVs are a no-brainer and cheaper than ICE cars, and they're cheap to charge from home, what do the people with ICE cars do? They knock them down by 4.5 billion, don't they? And, you know, petrol and diesels. The EV boys are trying to achieve price parity with ICE cars, but there is 95% ICE cars on Auto Trader that have to be sold. You can't keep them in stock. They have to be sold. So you discount them. So what happens? Dominoes, people like Cinch blow their brains out with used cars because of the ZEV mandate. The ZEV mandate is not working. Okay? It isn't working. Buying business never works. It's a race to the bottom. You know that. You're just choosing not to say it. Because, let's say, electric everything. So if we go to the One Point of Truth, electricvehicles.uk, advisory board, Dan Caesar, Ginny Buckley, Eilis Barrett, Quentin Wilson, Imogen Bogle, Dr. Andy Palmer, Steve Fowler, experts and spokespeople. Oh, Dr. Andy Palmer. Oh, and look at that. Colin Walker. Don't believe everything you read, guys. Don't believe it. Fair charge. UK vies with Germany to be European EV champion. With the 31% EV sales in December, we're close to becoming the most successful EV market in Europe. This is an opportunity, not a threat. It's a threat to the motor trade. In order to get to that, we've ruined 2024, we've ruined the motor trade to become the most successful EV market in Europe. Idiots. Electric vehicle sales dropped 69% year on year in Germany. Passenger car sales in Germany during the month of August fell by 27.8%. This seems to be the article that was given to the EV shills. Were it not for the pressures put on car brands by the ZEV mandate targets, the UK's new car market in 2024 would be seen as quite a success story. That's what Mike Hawes, Chief Executive of the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, told Automotive Management in a briefing on Friday ahead of the official publication of 2024's results. Ahead of the official publication. Why? Why did they do that? Preliminary data for the 2024 year end shows the new car market ended at 1.953 million units, up 2.6% year on year, of which 382,000 were zero-emission battery electric vehicles. That result gave BEV a record market share of 19.6%. But that record performance, driven by significant discounts and incentives, which the SMMT say are unsustainable, was still almost 3 percentage points short of the government set target of 22% share. Even after a final push that created a 31% BEV mix in December's market to boost the tally. So there was a final push, and they also stopped registering ICE cars. Let me also tell you, there are 3 months of the year when only a complete idiot would register a car. December's the worst. February, you register a car. March, there's a new letter. So immediately, in a few weeks, there's new letters out. So your car's worth a lot less. August, you register a car. September, new registration out. The August car is worth a lot less because it's on the old registration. December, they register all these EVs, or New Year's EV cars as I like to call them, and they're a year old within days. You would have to be the biggest idiot in the world to buy a car in December. The biggest idiot. You would have to be desperate, or the biggest idiot in the world to register hundreds of cars in December. If you're going to keep it and you get a good deal, it doesn't matter. If you don't care about selling it, or you don't think you'll have to register it in December and you keep it 10 years, it makes little difference. But these people aren't. They're registering them in December, like the Jaguars, and putting them up for sale straight away. That does make a difference. The whole job has gone balmy. It's honestly, it's ludicrous. Even after a final push that created a 31% BEV mix in December's market to boost the tally, that means that some car makers, national sales companies here, are liable to be fined if they cannot pool, trade or borrow carbon credits from the other vehicle manufacturers. This is the most interesting thing. Andy saying the ZEV mandate's working. Some industry figures have suggested the natural level of demand is around 11% to 12%. So that is why the market was having to be pushed. It's clear that demand has not matched the assumptions behind the mandate, so the mandate's not working. Andy, you read this article. Why have you missed this out? It's clear that demand has not matched the assumptions behind the mandate when it was conceived, Hawes said. Really, Sherlock? When the mandate was first conceived, the forecast for this year was 23.3% BEV share. Who forecast it? Is it the same person who forecast my budget in 1999 that would have been wrong from end of January? Is that the person who forecast it? Or did they let somebody who actually knows what they're doing forecast it? The target increases to 28% BEV share this year. That will require a sales uplift of 46% to find customers for more than 550,000 new electric cars if the total market volume remains flat. Industry has pulled every lever to try and achieve this target, with manufacturers discounting totaling more than 4.5 billion in 2024, an amount that is not sustainable in the long term. Billions of pounds of investment in new technologies and products over the past decade have delivered a record 132 ZEV models to the UK market, up 38% since 2023, to account for a third of all models available, with an average range of almost 280 miles. More than 2 weeks of driving for most people, said the SMMT. Well, there's another report just come out to say that you lose 40% of your battery life or battery usage in winter. Another very, very interesting point here. The 2.6% growth in 2024's new car market was driven purely by the fleet sector. Okay, 2.6% growth, including leasing operations, rental firms and OEMs own fleets, which accounted for 60% of all registrations. Horse is concerned that the new cars are not attracting the typical number of private buyers who traditionally would account for half of the demand, and said this is of course against an economic backdrop, but also adding a degree of confusion about what type of vehicle to buy after the messages from the government over the last 2 years to understand why there's a reason to hold off. SMMT data shows fewer private buyers bought a new car in 2024 than in 2020, when the COVID pandemic closed down the industry for 3 months. Buyers' low interest in BEVs is hampering the market growth, Hawes warns. And incentives such as halving VAT, delaying the premium VED charges and equalising the VAT rate on public charging to the 5% on domestic. Well, yeah. And when they've done all that and everybody changes to electric vehicles and they're losing 53 pence per litre fuel tax, what do you think they're going to do then? Where's that money going to come from? When they're giving all this away for you to buy electric cars, what do you think they're going to do when you've all got them? What the industry needs is a society representing them who has their best interests at heart, tells them the truth so they can make their own informed decision, not trying to steer them in a way that meets the society's agenda.